Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is Joe Scarice, co-host and co-founder of the Creative Birth Strategies podcast and house here on Clubhouse. Let's get ourselves set up for another weekend of education, networking, and strategy. We bring consistent subject matter that pertains to real estate professionals nationwide, and I'll begin starting here in just a few minutes. Let me just get myself situated here. I want to always thank our followers and our listeners every morning, where we provide every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Education, networking, and strategy. We'll get started here in just a quick second. We'll get started today's discussion: the skills the landlords need. So we'll do a quick invite for people in. So if you want to invite colleagues of yours that are on Clubhouse as we speak, that is always greatly appreciated. I always want to start off and thank our sponsors, of course. Would like to thank Yordell Perkins of Perkatech, our social media strategist, architect, as I call him, the Oz behind the curtain. He is a vital partner and friend and colleague. We've been working on, getting close to our 90th podcast of education. So I really appreciate his efforts in bringing this social media presence to the real estate professionals nationwide. We're doing really great with it. The downloads, the posts, the follow throughs, the follow ups. We're really working. If you're noticing, you're seeing a lot more social media activity on my brand right now. So we're really pushing it out in front of a lot of people. So please support us and follow the club if you can, and please reach out to Yordell if you have any questions on social media for real estate professionals. I'd like to thank MB Capital, where I'm a referral partner for unsecured business lines of credit for real estate professionals throughout the country. They've been a great ally for this year going into New Year. So really reach out to them or reach out to me, and I'll make the proper introduction so you can get to better understand how to utilize and leverage unsecured business lines of credit and be a referral partner as well. I'd like to thank Lendmark Capital, where I'm an asset-based lender nationwide, senior loan analyst, providing DSCR, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction, multifamily, mixed use, construction lines of credit, advisory and strategy in the investor space. We're nationwide as well. So if there's any questions in the asset-based lending space, please, by all means, let me know. We'll set up an appointment and go over your scenario. And then if you'd like to white label yourself and be a broker / correspondent, I can set you up as well. And you can start making some revenue as a direct private lender. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Miss Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, who has been a great ally of ours, being a national publication for real estate professionals and services throughout the country. He has published my information various times throughout the year, and we've obviously coordinated events together throughout the country as well. Definitely follow Realty 411. And now, last but not least, now that we're associating our investor mastermind events, I wanted to separate them from the name of the Creative Birth Strategies podcast. We aligned ourselves with elite deal makers out of Richmond, Virginia, Mr. Jim Ingersoll. We have elite deal makers in Philadelphia, elite deal makers in South Jersey, and soon to be elite deal makers in Lehigh Valley, where we're having monthly educational events for real estate in a mastermind setting. So I'm very somewhat like the podcast. So I just want to thank that new affiliation and relationship with deal makers, and we're elite deal makers in Philadelphia and South Jersey, and soon to be Lehigh Valley, going into 2025. Pretty excited about that new alliance. Obviously, I also provide CE accreditation for licensed real estate agents in any state in the country on asset-based lending. So if you'd like to sponsor a event for recruitment or for your company, I can come in, teach the class for free, offer a lunch or a breakfast, and provide insight for, say, 2 hours for your real estate agents. And they get CE in understanding the asset-based lending industry. So let's get caught up on our market this morning. Some interesting news that I found. Very interesting. First, I thought this was a very interesting article, quick article, just nothing too crazy. I just want to look it up real quick to make sure I got it in front of me. The Compass CEO thinks Zillow is going to become the national MLS. So That's not a big surprise. I've been talking about that. I think Zillow is going to become the national MLS, and I think there's going to be a restructuring of the whole real estate platform for agents throughout the country. I wouldn't be surprised at all as we see things with the NAR settling in and things going into New Year. They say there's going to be some massive amount of people not relicensing. I could tell you for a fact I was at the NAR Expo in Boston, and I was at Triple Play that covers also the tri-state, New Jersey, PA, New York, and half the amount of vendors, maybe 30 to 40% of the realtor base that's usually there, very light attendance. But the agents that were there were very engaged and very interested in understanding how to pivot in the new market going into 2025 and understanding how to leverage real estate investors as part of their new business plan. So that was extremely interesting to see. Wasn't as many people, but the qualitative of people was really good. And we held a cigar event this past Monday night down there in Triple Play. We kind of broke the tradition of going to the typical happy hours and things of that nature. So we had about 100 people at our cigar event, which was really great. A lot of great new faces to meet, and introductions being made. And so we have one more push this week going toward Christmas. We have our holiday parties coming up in Lehigh Valley on the 19th, and then on the 20th we have our holiday party that we hold every year in Philadelphia at my wife's offices down at 4th and Lawrence. If you want to come in or fly in for the holiday party that Friday evening, you get to spend the weekend in Philadelphia. It's going to be 6 to 9, wine, light drinks, light snacks. We're gonna have a great time Friday evening in Philadelphia. So if you want to come to Lehigh Valley, then travel to Philadelphia. I mean, not too far away from each other. Kind of spend the whole weekend there, have a great time meeting with real estate investors and agents and services at both events. So I'm excited about that. Very excited to announce about the asset-based lending fundamentals course coming up January 11th. You really want to learn how to white label and underwrite your deals. Coming on the Friday night, we're going to have a light happy hour get together. Then Saturday, all day, we're going to be discussing, starting at 10 o'clock. We're going to have breakfast, we're going to have lunch. We're going to just talk about how to underwrite your deals. Get that intuition to be the better investor by being the better lender for yourself or others. So I look forward to that. If anybody's interested in that, please reach out to me so I can get you registered and signed up. We're moving along with that registration. So let's get back to some news. But some great events coming up, and I just want to make sure you were aware of a lot of that on our podcast this morning. So this morning, I was watching Mortgage News Daily a little bit, looking at some articles. No one's paying attention to the Fed right now. I think they're going to be dropping the Fed rate about a quarter point, but man, these bonds the Treasury market is just massively bullish. They're really pushing those numbers up. Rates kind of fell at around 6.95, just shy 7% on the 10-year, 30-year fixed. On the 5-year commercial rate, we're hovering around I'd say 6.5, 6.75. So we're a little below the 30-year fixed for the conventional rate. We're still very aggressive in DSCR and fixed to rent, fixed to flip. The construction money has stayed steadfast at 9.75 start point. So we're hanging there. There's a big concern of course, inflation, and then obviously the shifting of the new presidential elect with his cabinet. So a lot of excitement on Wall Street. We got to keep an eye on delinquencies and foreclosures are starting to creep up a little bit in quarter three. But again, the 10-year Treasury is hovering around 4.3 as investors focus on that Fed rate decision this week. So keep an eye out on that. That was a really interesting. It's really interesting watching that now because it really, I don't know where. I mean, I've never seen the Fed so powerless in dictating rates right now than ever before. They were much more influential during COVID, of course, and very influential there. So interesting information there. Article that I saw that I thought was interesting. I'll be posting today. Survey finds U.S. renters lack a sense of belonging. According to recent Redfin survey, less than half with American renters, and over 2/3 of homeowners feel a sense of belonging in their community. Compared to 58% of the homeowners, only 38% of the renters believe they share characteristics with their neighbors. Additionally, renters are more likely than homeowners to try to avoid engaging with their neighbors. 40% of their renters, do so compared to 33% of the homeowners. Interesting article that'll be posted today. And then very interesting updates on hot housing spots for 2025. These are important factors common amongst top performing markets in 2025, including available inventory, affordable price points, a better chance of unlocking lower mortgage rates, higher income growth for the young adults, and net migration into specific metro areas. Okay, this was done by Lawrence Yun, chief economist for NAR, and this is in alphabetical order. So Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Massachusetts, New Hampshire area, Charlotte, Concord, Gastonia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Michigan, Greenville, Anderson, South Carolina, Hartford, East Hartford, Middletown, Connecticut, Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson, Indiana, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas, Knoxville, Tennessee, Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler, Arizona, and San Antonio, New Braunfels, Texas is still in there in the top 10. I really agree with Kansas City, Indianapolis, Greenville. I like those markets. They're sleeper markets. I think they're good for both landlord and homeowner, which gives you a good blend of opportunity. So I put that article just up yesterday. In today's discussion, the skills landlords need, I did put out an article on this along with a survey on LinkedIn. So look out for that as well. And, I think landlords always have to kind of redefine themselves in sharpening their tools. And we're going to talk about some important skills that a real estate investor landlord needs. As the real estate investor landlord needs these skills to kind of like succeed in the industry. I see so many failed attempts in landlording. I was at a function last night with a landlord that owns 50 properties, and he just can't get the bookkeeping under control. Like he can't. And I keep telling him, you got to use this, you got to do this, and he keeps pushing away from it because he's worried about cost. Sometimes it costs you more when you don't listen, right? Financial management is number one. And number two is understanding your property valuation. Like, what is the value of your property? You should know what the values of your properties are. Sit down with your realtor or be the realtor investor. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You need to understand your comps. You need to understand your rental market comps. And you need to understand also how to market and advertise your properties if you're going to self-manage. You're going to utilize a property management company, still understand marketing and advertising. Are they marketing and advertising to the right demographic, to your classification of your rental? And having great communication and negotiation skills, right? We don't cure cancer here. We work on real estate. And you need to identify also the right property management company and right property maintenance groups to facilitate the needs of your tenants. Happy tenants pay rent. Pissed off tenants don't. Understand risk management and potential risk with tenant damage or non-payment and lease negotiations, and the local market knowledge, and understanding and getting more effective in your time management in managing multiple properties, dealing with tenants and handling administrative tasks. Problem solver. You got to be a problem solver. You can't get upset at everything. And you got to be adaptable. You got to record keeping. Tax planning. Are you sitting down with a good bookkeeper, thus putting the right documentation for your CPA? Your CPA is only as good as your bookkeeping. Insurance and liability. Have you sat down with your insurance agent? Have you compared pricing with insurance? Insurance is somewhat out of control in certain markets. And having a good tenant screening process. Are you screening your tenants correctly? You're almost better leaving the unit empty for additional months instead of putting the wrong tenant in. And then understanding how to perform basic maintenance and repairs and having on-call maintenance and repair people up and above your management company. And understanding what type of renovation and remodeling adjust to the market to your property. Property inspections, have that as part of your lease, quarterly, monthly, whatever it needs to be. The tenant needs to know that you're going to be doing inspections with 48 hours notice to get in and take a look at these properties. Compliance with regulations, understanding your local, state, and federal regulations, budgeting and forecasting, and continuously learning. I have experienced landlords that come to our mastermind every month because they're looking for that extra niche to understand to be a better landlord. Local, regional information helps them apply to their portfolio. By possessing these skills, real estate landlords can effectively manage their properties and minimize risk and maximize returns on your investments. That's what you need to look at going into 2025. Steve, good morning and welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion, the skills landlord needs.
So, Steve Franco with REI Homepage. I'm an investor, broker, and landlord. I teach landlording stuff. And basically, I mean, you pretty much hit on most of them. I think the local knowledge and the proper team are always first and second. I see people all the time buying in my market of Scranton from out of the area. They're saying, well, this is how we do it in New York. Well, that's great. New York, with 10 times the population, 10 times the fan. We're coal country. We're a similar base, pretty strong in a lot of fundamentals, but it's just different. And you have to understand that market. Go to invest outside your home area, you got to spend what those people want. For example, in the last 5 years, I've seen the demand by the tenants for a more quality unit. Some of what people consider like I would term higher quality, higher interest. Tenants are wanting more, but they're not wanting technology. They're not wanting touch screens, the AI, and whatever markets that they are in some bigger cities. Know what your tenants want and know what's reasonable to deliver. On the flip side, I see a lot of landlords, oh, well, I should do marble, I should do tile. Well, no, this is Northeast PA. More of a granite's the top of your line, but, Formica and vinyl floors are okay. You know what it is you're presenting. But it also comes down to knowing your fundamentals. I just bought my first one since 2017 to 2024. I did 2019 before expiring. I was selling it to people, and I was telling them, you're overpaying. They're like, well, this is what it takes to buy the property. I said, yes, look at your numbers. You won't survive. You can't keep it running. Know your numbers. Keep on top of your numbers. Hire a great manager, but don't look away from that manager. Manage the manager. Make sure they're giving you the technological tools to keep an eye on your market. And the last thought, or the last sort of piece of information, the skills the landlord needs, is the willingness to do anything at any time, because it will boil past your manager occasionally. And thinking creative. Okay, I have this problem. This building needs this, and I don't have the resources to get it. How can I get around that? You have to be able to, I joke, it's a little bit like 3D Tetris sometimes. The tenant's demands, the contractor, the demand company, town, making it all fit. You as the owner have to be relatively creative in working with your team to get it done. And the last point is to understand who your tenant is and make sure that you never deliver a unit, no matter how cheap for your market, no matter how low end, no matter how C or lower grade you might be choosing to rent at, that they sit down and don't say, I am happy, I'm getting a good value for what I'm spending. I'm spending, $5,000 a month. Deep in numbers, that's a big number for a rental. I better be getting a really awesome unit. I'm spending $500 a month. I still deserve something. I can look around and say, you know what? This is good for me right now. I feel safe. I feel respected. Because as Joe said, happy tenants pay rent. Unhappy tenants find ways to bargain. And if you understand who they are, what they are, and what they need, then you can deliver that in an affordable, profitable manner. And it all ends with numbers. You can't overgive, and you also, HUD rents are going down.
You're breaking up, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate the insight. And he touched on a couple things that I think are important. There are specific tools and software and resources that can help the real estate investor or landlord streamline their property management tasks and improve overall efficiency, right? What are we talking about when it comes to property management software? We're talking about Appfolio, Buildium, Rent Manager, Yardy Breeze, Zillow Rental Manager, accounting and bookkeeping services like QuickBooks or Xero or Wave, rent collection and payment processing, rent payment, pay rent, Zago, maintenance and repair management, Maintenance Connection, Fixed Flow, Happy Inspector. Then there's tenant screening background checks, tenantscreening.com, rentprep.com, smartmove.com. Then there's marketing and advertising, Zillow, Trulia, Craigslist. And then some other resources that you might be able to look into, National Association of Realtors, NAR, National Apartment Association. I'll be attending as a vendor at two of them in March because I think it's important. And local real estate associations. I was just at Triple Play. I was just at NAR. So I see the importances of staying in front of the real estate agent. I see the importances that I think the real estate agents realize that they need to understand investor-friendly environment, because I think that's going to be the populace of your growth in 2025 still. Now, there's still some concerns being a landlord going into 2025, but you need the right tools and softwares and resources to streamline your property management tasks and improve your overall efficiency, increase your profitability. I mean, these are very important factors. Now, what is the real estate outlook looking for 2025? The past year has seen several changes that are likely to affect the residential rental market. Increased housing inventory in many areas. I think there'll be lower mortgage rates compared to this past year, and job growth and economic recovery since COVID-19 pandemic. Higher inventory is going to be there, okay? Affordability. People are still going to need to catch up with what's happened over the last several years in the economy with inflation and the cost of living and just everything becoming very out of reach. You got to stay profitable and consider revising your rental applications and lease agreements reflecting changes to cost and market conditions. How might regulations and rental policies change in 2025? There's a word out there on the street right now, rent control. Okay, that might happen. And I had somebody say, I don't have a problem with that. I said, well, do you have a problem if your taxes and insurance exceed the rent control allowability? And she goes, yeah, I would have a problem with that. Okay, then you got a problem. And are condos and multifamily properties expected to continue gaining value in 2025? I just don't see that. And you have a gluttony of new apartment living, condo style apartments. So if you're putting somebody in an apartment that they can't afford to buy the condo, what happens to the condo value? It goes down. And what if rents kind of get a little stagnant? Then the multifamily value, value add play goes down. I think you're going to see some serious impact in California, Texas, New York, and Florida. You're already seeing it in Florida. You're seeing certain hedge funds backing out of lending in certain areas or doing a whole reset because certain areas like in Florida are now lopsided. Will 2025 be a good year to invest in additional properties or improvement? You got to consider when deciding whether to purchase additional properties or make improvements. Existing ones include home prices, interest rates, and regulatory environment. Okay, these trends suggest 2024 might not have been the best time to invest with more properties, but I want to paint more of a positive picture of market conditions in 2025. I think rental property owners might find that the coming year will be a good time to expand their portfolios. Regarding property improvement, sustainability is gaining in popularity amongst consumers. People want to see more eco-friendly improvements and reduce energy use and carbon emissions. So you're going to see some green movement, green building improvements in a lot of this. The old landlord with the big bag of keys is kind of going to go away. I think keypad entry, a lot of lights, a lot of video, The safety and concern of the tenant is going to be extrapolated in 2024. And what new property types or markets could landlords explore in 2025? You know, you want to look at a good barrier of entry. You want to look at making. I mean, a lot of my landlords on the BRRRR are making 2% a month on their money on the back end. They might be leaving a little money in the deal. They're not going 75% LTV. Maybe they're going 70 or 65% loan to value, and they're really pulling off a lot of cash flow. They're looking for that $500 a door or 2% on DSCR. They're very concerned. Like the old time of seeing 1.2, for the more experienced investor, they want to make 2%. They want to make 24% a year on their money, and I feel it's still possible if you identify the right property to what you can sustain and stabilize in the market. I think people get a little too zealous on renovation and too close to the mark of value, or they're not focused enough on what the after repair value is. They're not as concerned. They just want to get into a deal, and that's not a good investment plan. You really need, like, when you call a lender, whether it's me or anybody else, there's three very confident numbers that you need. Several, but you need to understand what the after repair value is. Like, you can't guess. You can't be between 250 and 300,000. You got to be at a number. You got to be more specific. And the more experienced landlord is, they know what the repair numbers are, and with a contingency up to 20%. They're also familiar with what they're buying at and what they're not going to buy any higher. And they understand the rental market and what the estimated rental market would be based on an appraisal. So they're doing their rental comps. They also understand tax impact. If they're pulling permits, taxes are going to go up. And they're going to add 20% to that tax base right then. And they really are getting more proficient in understanding insurance, from builder's risk to more of a stabilized environment. Okay, there's two different sets of insurance. Is the construction piece, and then when you stabilize the property. So these are numbers that you need to understand. We're going to dive into this in the asset-based lending fundamentals course on January 11th. We're going to really dig into it, better understand how to underwrite your deals. Justin, thank you for your patience. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to the discussion. The skills landlords need.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Justin Jefferson. I'm in the Southern Louisiana market. Done several things. Right now, I'm doing project management for somebody, a large nonprofit, Habitat for Humanity. I'm still a licensed broker. Done several fix and flips and built some homes for people as well. My thing, good topic, Joe, is I think we gotta start before we ever purchase a property. I think the planning portion of being a landlord, the job starts before you make your first acquisition, because the bank will approve a lot more people to be landlords than stay landlords. When I got my license in 2011, and I worked, we had the company I worked with had a contract with HUDHomestore.com, and we were the regional listing agent for those properties at that time. It's kind of how they did it, and about 50% of the properties. Now, of course, it's coming off back in 2008, 9, 10, or whatever. But the half, 50% or more of the properties that we were reselling or reacquiring were, I would say a good 25%, right? 25%, because most of them were FHA loans for non-investors, for first-time home buyers. But a lot of them were investors' properties that they used this loan to get, or what have you. There was a lot less red tape around using this strategy when I started. So I'm just saying that to say investors lose their properties as well, a lot, and then a lot of them are more willing to give up their property, because they're not living there if they come into a financial situation. I'm saying all of that to say you want to begin with the end in mind. So if you want to put the label of landlord next to your name, above or below your name, then I suggest that you begin to do and research and learn the things that make for a successful landlord. That's your funding is a great place to start, but knowing your location, knowing what kind of product you want to landlord, right? Knowing what kind of product you can afford to landlord, and I don't just mean what Joe or whatever your local bank will approve you for, but what can your income, what can your financial situation sustain in the event that the property does not maintain itself, right? So that you don't end up with another bill, and probably a hefty bill, right? Because it's something that you're not getting much back from, just to keep it real ABC. So I really believe that being a successful landlord starts in the beginning. If you know this is something that's new to you, if you know you really want to lean on the side of a check coming in the mail, then your research needs to be on who is the best property manager in town, right? And they'll be able to guide you in a number of ways. You also need to research. I already mentioned researching the product and type of property you want to buy, but managing that asset is equally important. So I want to say those two things because I feel like if you have little to nothing, or if you just really are looking for the mailbox money or the cash flow, and even a long term play, but most importantly, you just want a successful asset, I think leveraging it out to the best professionals in your market, paying that fee is the best way that you enter into becoming or being a landlord. Throughout that process, you're going to learn, a whole lot. You're going to learn enough for you to be able to move on to other bigger, better things. Possibly, if it makes sense, without that, right? But if it makes sense to keep them, hopefully you will have learned that you should keep them as well. So those are just some kind of brief points, Joe.
Well, I sense from what you were saying, Justin, is the humbleness of a real estate investor. You don't know everything. I'm constantly learning a new thing, saying, man, I'm constantly taking my hand and putting it against my head and saying, man, I wish I knew that just last week. I mean, I'm probably saying that to myself once a week, twice a week. Man, I wish I knew that. But now I know, and I ain't going to forget. Okay? There's some very humbling factors as a real estate investor or landlord. Do the numbers make sense? I mean, you're getting guidance maybe from a real estate agent or some advisors, and there's various ways to calculate your return that you'll get. Do you have enough money to put into the deal? You know how many people don't realize what is expected? Like, nobody's walking away and giving you 100% of everything. Like you got to have some common sense to this. You're going to have at least 20 to 25% into a deal initially. Can you get that money back when you create a new value? Of course. What's the potential appreciation? What do you need to carry in an emergency? Like, what are your contingencies if you burn through your 50 grand that you have to put into a deal? Why do you think I'm a referral partner for unsecured business lines of credit? You think I just want to do that because I think I need to do that? No, people burn through money and don't see the unexpected. Oh, the renovations are only going to cost 20 grand. I had a client tell me that, right? He's now 75,000 into the deal. Why? He didn't open up wall number 2 and see the termite damage down into the basement. Did he have the money for it? Yes. What if he didn't have the money for it? Would he be screwed? Yes. Did he have unsecured business lines of credit as a backup? Yes. Did he have to over leverage his personal credit? No. Because why? He listened. He listened. He paid attention. I have more experienced landlords always texting me, "Hey, do you have this? Do you know this person?" You need to be a connector. You got to be humble that you need help as a landlord. You're constant. Just imagine yourself in a little boat, and there's holes in the boat, and you're plugging in with fingers and toes, and you only got 20 of them. So when that 21st hole comes you need help. You need people in your power team. You got to be able to respond quickly and professionally. Show that you're reliable as a landlord. People sense that. People sense that you're responsible, you're respectful to the tenant or the property manager. And yes, you do have to manage the property manager. You're not just hands off, you're hands on. Always have a maintenance group up and above the property management. Maybe they're stuck in something. You don't know what's going on in their day-to-day operations. Have your own maintenance group to facilitate things in the pinch. These are critical considerations when investing in real estate and being the better landlord. And accurately tracking your income and expenses, treating your rental properties as a business, having an investment strategy, understanding the fair market rent, understanding what Section 8 and the fair market rent looks like in your market, making the rental property as well pet friendly. Listen, you're gonna, people they want a cat or a dog. I mean, that happens. Learning how to work on things online, screening tenants online, right? What does that security deposit look like in the lease? Understanding your lease agreement thoroughly, organizing and storing documents, asking the tenant to make sure that you're obtaining rentals insurance. Very important, right? Following the state landlord or tenant laws or the city's landlord tenant laws. And making sure in the lease you're conducting routine maintenances or inspections. I don't understand why landlords don't emphasize that enough with their property management or maintenance groups. And keeping safety to the tenants for the tenants. Like, the ring bell with the video, keypad entry, lighting, video work. They want to feel comfortable, and they also know that you're keeping an eye for that. Maintaining open channels of communication and hiring the right local property manager. See what they're managing. See what they own. Travis, good morning and welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to the discussion this morning. The skills landlords need, but I do need to know where you got that beautiful plate of carnivore meat and pickles. So I'm very concerned about that first, and then we'll get to everything else.
Dude, yeah, there's a place not far from my house. It's called Killins. It's very good barbecue.
It brought a quench to my lips watching that plate on Facebook. I just want to let you know. So I just want to get that out of the way because we have to pay attention to each other's posts.
Yeah. I'm Travis. I'm a connoisseur of barbecue and a real estate broker here in the Houston area. So I get to try a lot of Texas barbecue. This is an interesting topic. It's one that I think about all the time. That I wonder, are landlords out there not setting expectations properly for their tenants? I don't know where this came from, but there's this idea and this belief that the tenants think the landlord has to take care of everything, right? Like, oh, my whatever's broken, you need to come fix it. You need to come fix it. You need to do this. You need to do that. Man, that is so not true. It's if you really read the lease and if you understand the property code for your state, like here in Texas, there's a few things the landlord is by law required to take care of. Number one, anything that affects the health and safety of a normal individual, right? That's not somebody who's asthmatic or, has an allergy to this or that, a normal person. So health and safety to a normal person. And if the water heater breaks, that's about it. That's all we're required to fix. So if your dishwasher breaks, the landlord doesn't have to fix it. If the whatever's going on, your plumbing stops up, not a landlord problem. The window breaks, you go fix it. There's so many things that tenants call on the landlord to come fix. There's mildew above my shower. Yeah, while you're turning on the fan, are you opening the window that's in the bathroom? Clean it. I mean, it's like so many times that we see things in our inspections, which, you should do inspections. Like Joe said, you should be inspecting your properties. And there's another thing, right? Does your tenant understand that you can access that property? Like you're not going to go over there and harass them, but if you want to do an inspection, they have to let you. Do they understand that you have a right to come in and look at the property and check out things and repair things? And okay, they're living there, but you do have a right to come in and do all that stuff. So there's really so many times that we'll find that we get somebody that's applying to lease a property, and during my application process, I spell it out to these people. Like, do you understand that these are all things you have to take care of? You have to clean the windows. You have to clean off the roof. You got to pressure wash the house. You have to keep the mildew off the property. Some really basic things. Like, you're not moving into a big building where it's a big apartment and somebody's maintaining the outside, right? You're moving into a house. And when you're moving into a house, just think of it like you're leasing a car. When you lease a car, you got to take care of it. You got to change the tires. You got to change the oil. You got to, do repairs to it. Some things will be under warranty, but you have to take care of it. And leasing a house is the same way. You got to take care of it. We're having a freeze. Okay. We live in the South. We have a freeze. You need to go out there and cover up any exposed pipes. Make sure your sprinkler system is winterized. If that stuff breaks, that's on you. It's not on the landlord to go fix it. So I think that one of the things right there is landlords understanding whose responsibility is what, right? And if you don't understand that, you need to sit down with a property manager and ask them that question. Hey, here's some common maintenance things or issues that pop up. Whose responsibility is that? Are you going to hold the tenant accountable? Are you going to collect, or is there something in the lease agreement that says, for all these things that we just discussed, is the tenant responsible for paying X amount of dollars, or are you going to take care of it? So there's a lot that people don't know. And like you said, Joe, every week you learn something new.
Well, and Travis, let me ask you a question. Yeah. You work with newer investors, and I'm assuming you also have the experienced investor. Is the conversation different when you engage with the more experienced investor? And then, are you insulted that they might have a maintenance group outside of whatever you do from a maintenance call perspective? Like, you're not insulted in that way if they have backup to whatever you're doing. I mean, how is that conversation with the more experienced investor compared to the lesser experienced investor? Is there a difference of mindset? What's the difference in the mindset of that individual, or are you just working with more newer investors?
Yeah, now you're making me think. Do I have any really experienced people? I have clients that they own multiple properties and they self-manage them. Okay, we list them for lease, but I think they understand, right? Like that. I can think of one of my clients in particular. Like in his lease, it'll say that you're going to pay the first $250 of any repairs. So, people get taken back when you're telling them, I'm going to have to pay for that. Yeah, you do. You have to pay for that. So most of the people that we manage properties for, they're very much hands off, and they just enjoying the fact that they're getting money in their account every month and that they don't have to deal with anything. I think that's the majority of people. The ones that are experienced, they're probably going to self-manage.
I just don't understand how they think that's like you explained it perfectly. You're going to drive a car and you're not going to get an oil change. You're not going to check the tires. Like I had a tire thing went off on my right tire on my back. I do a lot of driving. I went to the station. I got 2 new tires in the back. I didn't even question it. Just I don't even want to have a problem. Why aren't landlords realizing property managers are only going to do so much within the parameters that they're offering services? Like, why don't they want to be somewhat hands-on? Like, why wouldn't you have your own maintenance group, your own bookkeeping service? Why are you depending on a third party to do all this? What am I missing? Like, am I missing something? Is there training courses that could be extended to the landlord to better give them insight to be better friendly landlords to property management companies? Am I missing something here?
Well, I think it's because most of the property managers, they should have that in place, right? They should, and that should be one of the reasons why you're hiring them. I mean, if you're not hiring a manager to act in your place as the landlord, then what are you hiring them for? Just to collect the rent? I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, there's something missing. It's the same thing in the real estate brokerage environment, Travis. When I meet a real estate agent and they're like, "Why isn't our broker telling us about asset-based lending?" Because they don't know about it, and they don't want. But they're getting paid by their in-house that doesn't want anybody to know about it because then they'll lose business, and they don't realize they'll gain business if they give their realtors insight to asset-based lending. So it's this big conflict. The broker doesn't know, should I get paid by the person that's in-house, or should I risk educating my agents to be more investor friendly and understanding a new industry? It's the same thing with property management. Most real estate offices don't know a lick about property management, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And there's plenty of brokers, big brokerages where they don't allow the agents to do property management because they don't want to take on that risk. So I don't know, man. But what should a landlord know? And anybody that's getting into this, it's not just about cash flow. There's a lot of other stuff that you need to be taking, that needs to be taken care of. And one of those things is, checking out your property on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I thank you, Travis. And please keep posting those carnivore like meals for us, because a guy like me needs that energy every once in a while to see that.
Yeah, man. Whenever you come to town, you let me know. We'll eat some barbecue.
Predictions are saying I'll be in Texas in the second quarter, so we'll definitely be we'll be checking out some beef ribs somewhere. I can guarantee you that.
All right, sounds good.
Excellent. So, what's that? Thanks, Travis. So, having a checklist is what really matters, right? You got to define your investment goals as a landlord. Investing in real estate for passive income through rental properties, it's not passive. You're involved. Growing your wealth through capital appreciation in markets, yeah, but you got to be involved, right? Conducting thorough market research, local location analysis. Just because you own a property, a property management company is taking care of it, don't you think you should be understanding what the rental market looks like and what the values are looking like? Are they depreciating? Is there economic indicators telling us what's going on in your market? Job growth, infrastructure development, government initiatives, demographic trends, what's happening? Are millennials moving in or out? Gen Z generations are shifting in their housing preferences. What don't you have in the property that separates from the other properties in the market? Right? Is the bathroom new? Is the kitchen new? Is the basement finished? Is there an extra half bath on the first floor above the full bath? Is that third bedroom too small? Should you just make it into a two bath, two bedroom instead of a 3-1? Will that make the difference in your rent? Does it change it in any way? What's lending look like in your market? Listen, there's lenders right now that don't lend in certain markets right now. They're just not telling you. I know personally there's lenders that claim that they're lending in a market and they're not. They're absolutely not lending unless you're very experienced. Okay? Because they're getting shellacked by the newbie landlords. Shellacked. Philadelphia, Baltimore, St. Louis, Chicago. If you don't have a certain amount of real estate portfolio, they're not lending to you there. They're advertising they are, but they're only looking for a very specific landlord, an experience level. And they can do that, right? And you need to understand your mechanicals. You need to understand the structural integrity of your property, understanding HVAC systems, plumbing, electrical, cosmetic repairs, different ways to minimize cosmetic repairs, and factoring in property taxes and insurance, and understanding what your common area maintenance costs are monthly. Like, I can tell you, most of my landlords do not know what their operating expenses are up and above PITI and their management fee. They have no idea what their responsibilities are. Is it water? They can't give me a number. How do you not know what it's costing you? It's your property. And evaluating the potential rental income and ROI. Have you done a cash on cash return on your properties? Have you looked at local rent comparisons? Have you looked at the DSCR of the property lately? Have you gone to a zoning meeting or a neighborhood meeting, understanding the laws and the regulations and the rub that's in that neighborhood? What's going on? Are they upset? Are they happy? Is there progression? Nobody's ever happy, but there's always ways to understanding your market better and understanding the impact of technology and sustainability. Smart home technology, sustainability, energy efficiency, and building your team of experts. I talk about this every single week. Real estate agents, real estate attorneys, contractors, accountants, lenders, insurance agents, title agents. A title agent is supposed to be, listen, title is not rocket science here. You do a background check on the title order, and the title reps, they kind of play the intermediary. They are in place to be a connector. They're constantly connecting people to one another. That's how they get business. Title research is kind of standard by any title company. You're only as good as the back office in that, but the rep has to be a connector. They got to separate themselves and always have an exit strategy to every property, whether it's short term or long term. Real estate investing as a landlord is a powerful tool for building wealth, but only if you approach it with a well thought out plan. You have to have a checklist to put together and surround yourself with the right real estate power team. You can increase your chances of success and avoid common pitfalls. That's why we have these educational discussions every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. And everything's on the website too as well. I don't think people are taking enough consideration in what your obligation is as a landlord. Really pencil down, just take one of your properties and write everything out about your property. What do you think the value is? What do you think you've put into the property over the time that you've owned the property? What do you think you need to put in that property to separate the rental market value of yours to the market itself? Are you at market value? Whether you put in backsplash or a new bathroom or new kitchen or add an additional half bath, does it make any difference? Does it make sense to finish your basement? Don't negotiate and give anything to your tenant to do anything on your behalf of your property, ever. Do you have a good maintenance company on call up and above your property management company? Do you have a solid lease based on the current changing of the market in your market? Is your lease up to date? Have you gone to a local real estate investor association meeting and had to sit down with an attorney that's there that's trying to grab some business there to do leases or eviction? What's evictions look like in your market right now? Who's moving into your market? Right? These are really basic questions that you need to ask yourself. And it's humbling sometimes. You don't know everything. The old words of location, location, location is no longer just the case. You need to understand your property wherever it's located. Like, you don't think a lender is going to do a Google map just to see what the property looks like? Be honest and open to criticism to your market. I mean, I've had a couple conversations this week. Like, are you kidding me? You think this property is worth this? You got gang activity on your block. I'm seeing it in Google Maps. Like, be honest and don't think you're going to get maximized loan to value in those type of environments. Be a little more humble. I mean, you want 75% LTV, and it looks like they got rifles and guns right next to your house on Google Maps. That's not going to happen. Have a prepared explanation to what you're doing to that market that's going to sustain you through how about questionable times with crime. I think when you expect, hey, I put a lot of money into this property, I should get it all back. That's not really what a lender wants to hear. The lender wants to hear, hey, I understand this market, it's a Class C minus market or Class D market, but I have things in place where I have a maintenance group separate from my property management group. I have Section 8, that's the market rent. Be confident, competent, and humble to what you have in front of you. If you want to buy in a lesser, safe area, be understanding to that. And when somebody comes back, you're saying, "Hey, listen, I got a concern about over leveraging your property right now." Right? I don't want to be at 110% loan of value by next year on this property. I want to be safe to say I'm at 75% or 70% or 65%. And why be a pig either? Why take every last penny out of the deal if you're going to make so much cash flow and brag about it? If you're going to make $500 a month at 65% loan of value, and all your money's out anyway at 65%, and you're still making over $500 a month per door, I mean, how much more do you need? Being a smarter investor and leaving a little meat on the bone does not hurt being that landlord. Many landlords often overlook essential aspects like proper tenant screening, failing to maintain the rental property adequately, or not adhering to fair housing laws. These mistakes can lead to issues as problematic tenants, legal disputes, property damage. I think there's some statements that, 5 things you never want to hear when renting an apartment. I hate my landlord. Every potential landlord is going to ask why you're moving, right? So you get that's a quick flag of bringing that tenant in. Let me ask you one more question. Like, I can't wait to get that puppy, the Rottweiler, to take over the whole block. My partner works right up the street. You got to be careful of who they're allowing to move into your property too. Oh, I'll pay in advance. Why are you so eager to pay in advance? That should be a red flag, right? Some golden rules as a landlord. Buy from motivated sellers, buy in an area of strong rental demand, buy for positive cash flow, buy for the long term, and always have a cash reserve buffer. Now, in the course, we go over what cash reserves look like and why and how, and what makes the difference there as well. And again, I keep emphasizing this course January 11th because we're spending the time on a Saturday to make sure you walk away being a smarter landlord, being the better property manager, being a better property maintenance group. Justin, some final thoughts to our discussion this morning: the skills landlords need.
Yeah, Joe, man. Yeah, laughing a little while ago, but absolutely, man.
Google Maps tells all.
It does. Yeah, I mean, that little van with the camera on top, man, catches everything. So, but I did want to chime in on what you and Travis were kind of speaking on earlier. I think you were referencing why people, leverage out, and Travis pretty much hit it right on the head on the why people. But you were saying what's the big deal? And I think the big deal is it creates another job. It creates another set of list of items of activities that you have to do and do well, right, to be successful in servicing that property. And that's just one aspect of being a landlord. So I think that's the big push to get them off. But you also reference kind of, how some realtors are hesitant and stuff like that. And my message to you with that, because I know you do a lot of, man, and I know you're real good, just get away from those folks. My experiences, there are going to be the few that have always had their experience with investors throughout history. I think it's best to lean into those folks. And if anybody's listening, look for agents, this, that, third. Just stick with the ones who've been, dealing with investors through and through. The newer ones, I'm not saying don't go to the new ones. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your chances when rolling the dice are going to be better with the folks who've been doing it and aren't doing it because they're running out of this type of lead or that type of lead. So that's my 2 cents on that because they got a lot. They have a lot of them. So no sense in wasting time or energy on the folks who aren't receptive to the things that your need is that type of client, right?
Yeah.
As being an investor. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Man, y'all have a great Sunday.
Thanks, Justin. I want to thank our sponsors today. Mr. Gerald Perkins of Perkatech. I want to thank Linda Pelagas of Realty 411. I want to thank MB Capital, your unsecured business line of credit program. And I want to thank Lendmark, where I'm an asset-based lender, senior loan analyst, providing asset-based lending nationwide. And I want to thank now Elite Dealmakers, where we're offering mastermind discussions the first Monday of every month in South Jersey, second Monday of the month in Philadelphia, and soon to be second Wednesday of the month in Lehigh Valley. We have some great events coming up this week. We have a holiday party in Lehigh Valley on the 19th. We have our Philadelphia holiday party on the 20th, Friday evening. We have coming up in the new year, we have Health is Wealth in Real Estate, January 9th in Marlton, New Jersey at Restore Wellness, where I'm a client. January 11th, we have a asset-based lending fundamentals course on a Saturday. Love to see you all there. Where we're going to dive into white label marketing and understanding how to underwrite your deals and pricing your loans out and being a smarter, investor-friendly individual. Just whatever part of the service you're in, we're going to provide that. We're hitting close to our 90th episode here on the podcast, where you can find everything on the Creative Birth Strategies podcast. And I want to thank our moderators over the past year. We're getting close to this. We wouldn't be able to do it without them and their insight and their thoughts. This is completely unscripted for them, so they're coming right from the heart in what they're thinking and what their thought patterns are. And I want to thank everybody going into the end of this year, going into Christmas, and I want everybody to be blessed and take care of themselves, of course, and just be a better person. Going into the new year, you don't have to set goals; just be a better person, and that'll work itself through. And my quote this morning: "Be grateful for the people who spoke to the winner in you before you started winning." I want to thank everybody. Have a great morning, Sunday morning. I'm going to hit the gym and hit it hard for everybody. And if there's any questions or I could be of any assistance, please reach out to any of our moderators, of course, or myself. We're here to hopefully support you in your successes. And I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.